Live with the crew from Big 12 Media Days, Brett Yormark took the podium today and said the Big 12 is the deepest football conference in America. We talked a lot about quarterback play, and we talked overall about how this conference has, even the coaches mentioned the quarterback play being so deep, and that's a major part of how you determine which league goes more than 2, 3, 4 contenders, and that for better or worse. Because Yormark said it on Parity, too. He talked about Parity. He said Parity's fun. But you need 2 schools. Ideally, a couple of schools will emerge as the top dogs and be elite. But I think this is an immediate shot of the SEC and the Big Ten to say, look, yeah, you've got 2 teams, 3 teams, maybe 4. The Big 12 has 16. We learned last year, 16 teams that can go to the college football playoff. I think that constitutes you being, especially with 9 quarterbacks returning who are all elite, you being the deepest conference in football.
More than quarterbacks, though, to me. I look at it like this. And look, and once again, like what I have always been a proponent of is that the best teams deserve to get in. But I do think that's different things. We're saying like, hey, there are Big 12 teams that are better than SEC teams, and saying, hey, it's deeper than the SEC. I just look at some of those South Carolina, LSU. I do think the SEC is probably the deepest conference to me. I look at the level of talent they have, and I'm not trying to be that guy who all of a sudden sells out, but there's just been a lot of SEC programs that do have that power and that prowess where I say, hey, you can give the SEC when it's close gaps, we can give them the benefit of the doubt. But bad losses are still bad losses. That's where I get frustrated. Losing to Oklahoma, losing to Vanderbilt, those are bad losses. Those are bad losses. Just like there's bad losses. Right, losing to Cincinnati last year wasn't great. I know some good teams did that, but I don't think it's the deepest conference. Maybe I'm the only one here with the Big 12. I don't think the Big 12 is the deepest. I still think it is the SEC, honestly.
It's how you define deep. Like, that's the thing about this, JT. If you look at the over-under win totals, the deep, speaking of how it's going to be deep, is we have over-under win totals topping out at 9.5 in the Big 12. I think the lowest I've seen is 4. They think that this is a league that's going to be jumbled kind of right in the middle. The concern, to your point, is if you don't have maybe 1 or 2 teams that are 10-2, 11-1, and actually in the college football playoff discussion, that's where it kind of gets off the rails a little bit, where, yeah, you maybe cannibalize yourselves, and the national narrative shifts more towards the Big 10, the SEC, or even the ACC in that respect.
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is it's actually kind of 2 different kinds of good. There's good all regular season in terms of entertaining, where you don't know who's going to win on a given Saturday. And I think we could also be like, that's really fun. That's a good product. There's also like excellence, where you're good and you're consistently winning. You're beating some teams by a lot. You're showing dominance in the field. And I think the truth is, as a conference, you kind of want both. And it's, if you had to pick one, what do you pick? And right now the Big 12 is leaning more towards that parity side of things. And that's really fun. And we know ASU, we keep talking about it, almost beat Texas in the college football playoff last year, and then would have had, a college football playoff win on top of it all. But ASU also won some really close games in this conference that, like, honestly, you play them 10 times, they might not win 5 out of 10 of those, right? And so that's part of the fun of what we do. They're different calibers of, like, what is good, what is a good product. And it was interesting today, it wasn't as explosive, but that Brett Yormark did say the other kind of good is actually kind of something we want to have as well. And we've all been pitching this other.
So are you saying the SEC, were you agreeing SEC is deeper or no?
No, I don't think.
Oh, come on. I wanted to high five you. We're so close to each other. We can't even agree, and we're this close together. Gosh dang it.
I will say, though, you should really go top of the SEC once Utah leaves this conference and goes, because that may be one of your future destinations, right? Y'all talk about that all the time. And Utah, is that?
It's Big Ten, though. Let's be honest.
It's always the Big Ten. There's a piece of this that I will back up, JT. Look at the MAC. And we love Tuesday night MACtion because Miami of Ohio could beat Toledo any given week, right?
To be fair, we love Tuesday night MACtion because of FanDuel more than anything.
Yes, that's where I utilize FanDuel the most. But they're deep. They have 8 teams that could probably win the MAC any given year. It's a matter of having those teams be a brand that can stand out in college football. Arizona State is not getting coverage on ESPN. Sam Leavitt is. Sam Leavitt's one of the best quarterbacks to play. But Arizona State as a program is just not going to sell, at least not right now. BYU sells. Texas Tech sells. Even Kansas State or Oklahoma State. I think Houston can climb into that category. Utah very obviously is. But if you have a deep conference and that depth is some of your weaker brands, that's where things get really tough. Like the better, if for the next few years NC State dominates the ACC, that's the worst news possible for the ACC. It's only going to hurt them more. They need their brands to win. So the MAC is deep. The Big 12 needs to be the deepest conference in college football, but it needs to matter because the brands are the better brands are deepest.
Well, and that's to your point, Drake. You need the BYU's, the Texas Techs. You need your biggest brands to also succeed, because there's a double whammy there: winning and obviously name brand recognition. That's what the Big 12 has been lacking. It feels like since they've expanded to the 16-team format, now they need the power brands to finally emerge and start winning their share.
I don't mean to always be the guy that jumps to basketball. We do talk about like NBA coverage and TV numbers being down, but they've had a different champion 8 years in a row. But TV numbers are super high up when it was like the Warriors every year. It was the Spurs so often. It was the Jordan Bulls in the 90s. They won 6 and 8 years. The numbers were through the roof. The numbers are down now that a different team is winning every year. I think Yormark is pointing out that while we're somewhat professionalizing college sports, it might actually be better to kind of have that option where, like, hey, some dynasty that's like the bad guy, the Death Star, would be great to have.
People love
Drake,
greatness.
did you just let Brett Yormark get away? I mean, come on, man. He was right there
away.
within arm's reach.
Right behind me. We could have had him to answer all of these questions for us. And I mean, I think the way that he would put it is the depth of the Big 12 is good for the conference overall. Parity, as he already mentioned, isn't the best thing, and you need to find your good teams, your elite teams. But having depth more than the SEC, more than the Big 10, gives you stronger matchups when, and yeah, man, it's what's tough again. I talk about it a lot. The SEC, they have the number 2 team play the number 6 team every week. Like, they've got a top 10 matchup somewhere there every week. We have a lot of number 24 versus number 19, number 17 versus number 22, number 15 versus number 16. And that's where the depth is. You have your 6th best team that's like, wow, they're actually a really good football team. But again, looking back at last season, if that team is in Colorado, is probably 4th or 5th in the Big 12, right? Kansas State is somewhere sitting in that same spot.
Are you talking about the brand thing? Is that what you're talking about right now?
Mostly, yes.
Well, I was going to say, I just don't feel like there's a massive difference between the national perception brand-wise BYU versus ASU right now, because neither one have been a football powerhouse. So I don't think there's a massive gap there. I think someone is trying to fill and become that.
Spoken like a true Ute homer he is. Come on now.
Say that one more time.
Spoken like a true Ute homer that you are. No, gosh. BYU's not named brand.
I have never. BYU is a big brand in Provo, and it's still a brand that has. BYU is probably the biggest brand in the Big 12, but I do not think it is much more than an ASU.
There you go. Yeah, biggest brand in the Big 12. He clip that.
Probably.
Right.
I mean, I think they are. I do. But I don't think it's that big of a difference between them and ASU, because I don't. If you ask anyone like from SEC country about either of those teams, they're gonna be like. In fact, they probably would lean more recently to ASU, just since they won most recently. Even if BYU was number 2 last year, you ain't first, you're last, like Ricky Bobby said.
That's true. He did say that. Thank you for bringing a Talladega Nights quote to it.
We can't do Righteous Gemstone's a good one too. I couldn't get to that.
Gemstones quotes would also work. Overall, spectacular day, Big 12 Media Days for the entire Big 12, Locked On Big 12 family. Yes, JT.
Can I throw one more thing in just because I haven't angered everyone enough yet? Would y'all agree with what Kalani Sitake said? I actually think I would be in favor of it, to play only P4 teams. He talked about you play SEC one non-conference game, Big 10 one non-conference game, then ACC. I go back and forth because I don't like cutting out the little guys, but at the same time, I don't love tuning in on Saturday knowing that Utah is going to bludgeon whoever they're playing in that game. It can serve a benefit to red shirts, I guess, and especially when you're opening your stadium. I know you want a guaranteed win, so you're going to schedule the Citadel as much as you can, but I don't hate that idea. I think I would be down for that, and then you just got to figure out another way. Maybe it's a spring game where you play that team. I don't know. What do you think?
I'll close this out with an objective opinion. Objective opinion. This is good. Utah goes 12-0. Their 3 non-conference games were Wake Forest, Southern Utah, the Citadel. Utah goes 9-3. Their 3 non-conference games were Ohio State, LSU, and Clemson. One of those teams gets in the college football playoff. One does not. Strength of schedule doesn't matter in our sport the way that we think it does. And until that changes, keep whoever you want on your schedule. Make it as easy as possible because it's just about wins. Unbelievable day at Big 12 Media Days.
Wrong.
JT Westerfield, Parker Ainsworth, Jake Hatch talking all things Utes, Cougars of BYU, or Cougars of Houston, Cougars of BYU. This has been and always will be a very special Big 12 Media Days Locked On. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. Dose Grande Squad.